From the ashes of civil war, could this broken nation actually become a superpower? Buckle up for part 2 as we witness America's transformation into the modern world's most influential country. Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877. With the war over, 4 million formerly enslaved people were suddenly free, but free to do what? The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments abolished slavery, granted citizenship, and gave black men voting rights. On paper, freedom seemed real. Black Americans made remarkable progress. Over 600 black men served in state legislatures. But the Ku Klux Klan terrorized black communities with lynchings and burnings. In 1877, Reconstruction ended when federal troops withdrew. Southern states passed Jim Crow laws enforcing racial segregation. The Gilded Age, 1870 to 1900. America transformed into an industrial giant. In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad was completed. Andrew Carnegie built a steel empire. John D. Rockefeller controlled 90% of America's oil. Between 1880 and 1920, over 20 million immigrants came to America. The Statue of Liberty, dedicated in 1886, welcomed them. Workers organized for better conditions. The Great Railroad Strike of 1877, the Haymarket Affair in 1886, and the Pullman Strike of 1894 turned violent. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. America was becoming a land of innovation. Progressivism and empire, 1890 to 1920. Progressives fought corruption and inequality. Journalists called muckrakers exposed terrible factory conditions. Upton Sinclair's The Jungle led to food safety laws. The Spanish-American War in 1898 gave America Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. Theodore Roosevelt declared America should speak softly and carry a big stick. The Panama Canal, completed in 1914, was an engineering marvel built at the cost of thousands of lives. The Great War, 1914 to 1918. When war erupted in Europe in 1914, America stayed neutral. But German submarine attacks, including the sinking of the Lusitania killing 128 Americans, pushed the U.S. toward war. America entered World War I in April 1917. Over 2 million soldiers deployed to France. In brutal trench warfare, 116,000 Americans died. The war ended November 11, 1918. The Roaring Twenties, 1920 to 1929. The 1920s roared with prosperity and rebellion. Jazz-filled speakeasies. The Harlem Renaissance saw an explosion of black art and music. Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and Duke Ellington defined the era. Prohibition banned alcohol in 1920, but Americans kept drinking. Al Capone made millions from illegal liquor. Charles Lindbergh flew solo across the Atlantic in 1927. Henry Ford's assembly line made cars affordable. The Great Depression, 1929 to 1939. On October 29, 1929, Black Tuesday, the stock market crashed. By 1933, unemployment hit 25%. Homeless families lived in Hoovervilles. Franklin D. Roosevelt won the presidency in 1932, promising a New Deal. His programs put millions to work building roads, dams, and parks. Social Security provided for the elderly. But it took another war to truly end the Depression. World War II, 1939 to 1945. War returned to Europe in 1939. America stayed neutral, until December 7, 1941, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. A date which will live in infamy, Roosevelt declared. 16 million Americans served. Women took factory jobs as Rosie the Riveter. In one of America's darkest moments, 120,000 Japanese Americans were forced into internment camps. President Truman decided to use the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was destroyed, killing 80,000 instantly. 3 days later, Nagasaki suffered the same fate. Japan surrendered August 15, 1945. World War II killed over 400,000 Americans and 60 million worldwide. The Holocaust murdered 6 million Jews. America emerged as a global superpower, facing the Soviet Union across an Iron Curtain. The Cold War, 1945 to 1960. America and the Soviet Union became enemies. The Cold War was a global struggle between capitalism and communism. The Marshall Plan rebuilt Western Europe. NATO formed to counter Soviet expansion. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, killed 36,000 Americans. At home, Senator Joseph McCarthy ruined lives with baseless communist accusations. Civil Rights Movement, 1954 to 1968. In 1954, Brown v. Board of Education declared school segregation unconstitutional. Southern states resisted violently. On December 1, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat in Montgomery. Her arrest sparked a boycott led by Martin Luther King Jr. The boycott lasted 381 days and ended bus segregation. In 1960, students staged sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. Freedom riders faced violent mobs. In 1963, Birmingham police attacked peaceful protesters with fire hoses and dogs. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 banned discrimination. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 protected black voting rights. But violence continued. Malcolm X was assassinated in 1965. Dr. King was assassinated on April 4, 1968. 2 months later, Robert F. Kennedy was also assassinated. Vietnam and upheaval, 1960 to 1975. The 1960s brought cultural revolution. Young people questioned authority and protested war. Woodstock in 1969 defined a generation. America supported South Vietnam against communist North Vietnam. By 1968, over 500,000 American troops fought in Vietnam's jungles. The war was brutal. The Tet Offensive in 1968 shocked Americans watching on television. In 1973, America withdrew. In 1975, Saigon fell. America had lost its first war. 58,000 Americans and over 2 million Vietnamese had died. Watergate to Reagan, 1972 to 1989. The Watergate scandal led to President Nixon, who had covered up the crime. Facing impeachment, Nixon resigned in August 1974, the only president to do so. The Iran hostage crisis in 1979 saw Iranian revolutionaries hold 52 Americans for 444 days. Ronald Reagan won the presidency in 1980. "It's morning again in America," his campaign declared. Reagan cut taxes, increased military spending, and called the Soviet Union the evil empire. The Cold War ends, 1989 to 1991. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union dissolved in 1991. America had won the Cold War. The United States stood alone as the world's sole superpower. President George H.W. Bush led a coalition in the Gulf War in 1991, quickly expelling Iraqi forces from Kuwait. The Clinton years, 1993 to 2001. Bill Clinton's presidency saw economic prosperity. The internet revolution transformed everything. Unemployment fell to 4%. The federal budget showed a surplus. Clinton was impeached in 1998 for lying about an affair with Monica Lewinsky. He was acquitted. The 2000 election between George W. Bush and Al Gore came down to 537 votes in Florida. The Supreme Court stopped the recount. Bush became president. 9/11 and War on Terror, 2001 to 2008. September 11, 2001 changed everything. Terrorists hijacked 4 planes. Nearly 3,000 people died. America invaded Afghanistan to destroy Al-Qaeda. In 2003, America invaded Iraq, claiming Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. No such weapons were found. Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans in 2005, killing over 1,800 people. The 2008 financial crisis brought the worst recession since the Great Depression. Obama to Biden, 2008 to 2026. Barack Obama's 2008 election was historic. America's first black president. His presidency brought the Affordable Care Act. In 2011, Navy SEALs killed Osama bin Laden. Police killings sparked the Black Lives Matter movement. In 2015, the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. Donald Trump's shocking 2016 victory upended politics. His presidency was chaotic and divisive. He was impeached twice but acquitted both times. In 2020, COVID-19 killed over 1 million Americans. George Floyd's murder sparked massive protests against racial injustice. Joe Biden won the 2020 election. Trump refused to concede. On January 6, 2021, Trump supporters stormed the Capitol trying to overturn the election. In 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, ending the constitutional right to abortion. As we move through 2026, America faces challenges: climate change, political division, threats to democracy, and economic inequality. From Columbus's landing to the digital age, American history is a story of constant change, of expansion and conflict, of progress and setback. It's a story of imperfect people striving to form a more perfect union. The journey continues and the next chapter is being written right now. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through American history.